I'm Thomas Hescott. I'm a theatre director, and I work across the industry on a whole range of productions, from big West End shows through to educational projects and participation projects. I started myself in participatory groups. I was a member of a great youth theatre in Nottingham, the ITV Workshop, which was linked to Carlton Television. And we would therefore we attend drama sessions every week, and we often got to audition and appear in a whole range of TV shows. So that's how I started, and then I went on to the National Youth Theatre as a teenager. I moved from acting to directing very quickly, as I did lots of acting as a child, both in youth theatres and a certain amount of television acting. And I realised as I was a teenager and I started to get a real sense of the different roles involved in the industry that I was much more interested in directing. So really from sort of when I went to drama school, I went to Central School of Speech and Drama, where I didn't study acting, I actually studied design, theatre design. From that moment on I knew I was looking for a route that was probably involved directing of some description. And to sort of move from there. And my first job was in my third year at Central. I got offered a job as an assistant director at the Royal Court, and that's where I sort of began. But that move from acting to directing is quite a common move. I think as people realise what the industry involves and what roles there are there, a lot of people start as an actor and move into other roles. I think it's very common for people to take a bit of time finding what their role is in theatre. I think there's lots of roles that aren't necessarily obvious or open to somebody when they come in to the industry. And I think there's a number of very good starting jobs that will give people a sense of where they want to go. I think also it's very common for people to assume that they want to be an actor when they start, because that's the role that's most prominent, obviously most public, and then very quickly they see a whole range of options open to them, either through training, through university drama groups, through drama schools, or through just sort of being around the industry in a sort of starter job and seeing what was around there, and then people very quickly or slowly make other decisions. So I think it is very common just to sort of know you want to be part of the theatre industry, but not quite know where you fit straight away. And so this session is very much designed for people who are maybe school leavers, or also possibly people who are just graduating from University of Drama School and who aren't entirely sure what route they want to take into the industry and what's available to them beyond acting. We'll cover certainly the route in if you want to be an actor and the various different training options available to actors, but we'll also look at how the industry is structured, from administration positions, production positions, and the creative roles in the industry, and look at how people get involved in all of those different areas of theatre. I think the rewards of working in the theatre industry are that no 2 days are ever the same. If you're working for a particular theatre company, and it doesn't matter whether you're the actor on stage, whether you're the director, whether you're the administration assistant, you will find a whole host of challenges that are going to ask you to think outside the box. You're always working in a very creative environment, and theatres tend to be at their heart like extended families. So you have a very close team of people you're always working with. So it's a very friendly atmosphere, it's a very exciting atmosphere, and it's a very creative atmosphere. I think some of the challenges, it's notoriously low paid as an industry, and job security isn't necessarily something that goes with jobs in the theatre. But there are a number of myths around that, and there are areas of the theatre that you are better paid, and there are areas of the theatre that are much more reliable sources of income than others. And of course in the current climate there's no such thing as job security, so I think a lot of the challenges that you face in the theatre are actually challenges that people face throughout the world these days. There are lots of alternatives to a full-time training in theatre or full-time higher education qualification. The great thing about the theatre is that there are pretty much no roles that need any formal qualifications when you go into the theatre. You don't have to have a degree to be an actor. Many drama schools never used to be degree courses. We changed to degree courses about 15 years ago as a funding requirement so that students could get grants, ironically. But that isn't. But it wasn't a necessity for someone to have a degree. That's not to say it's a bad thing to have, but it isn't a requirement of being an actor, nor is it a requirement of many of the jobs in theatre. And so there are a range of ways of getting in. There are, of course, some superb courses for actors both at drama school and university that, if you want to pursue, are absolutely going to give you that training and that bridge into the industry. And there are also a number of projects across the country, depending on what your local theatre is, that may offer you a route in that is a little bit more unusual and sometimes more challenging because it's not an obvious route in, but can offer you a route in. And then if you're looking at roles technically or roles within an administration department or anything like that, or as a producer there and in the production department, there are a whole range of apprenticeships and there's a range of kind of training opportunities there. So I think the great thing about being in the theatre is that we don't require a certain level of education. What we're more interested in is your background, your passion, and your vocational knowledge, and how you pick up that information and how you train yourself is very much open to you, whether that's a full-time course or whether that's through a series of shorter courses. There are a range of options there. But I think one of the dangers about the theatre is because of that, there's also a lot of courses that aren't able to provide what they promise, that are maybe a little bit less reputable, and it's very difficult for someone who's looking to join the industry to know what's an excellent course and what's not so good, and what really is going to give you that bridge into the industry and what's going to leave you no further along at the end of the course than where you started. I think there are an awful lot of people much older than your average school leaver or graduate who are looking at moving into this industry. And I think this will benefit them, first of all, because I think, like anyone who's not already in the industry, the routes available and the career paths available aren't always apparent to somebody outside of theatre. So I think it will really help with that. And it will help just give you a sense of what it is that you can bring with the skills that you've already learned and the skills you've picked up. So it's not like doing a U-turn, but it's actually a natural progression. So if you've already been in a very high-powered administrative job and you're looking to move into theatre, there may well be a way that your background will be of real benefit and use to us. Or if you're coming into this wanting to be an actor with a little bit of age behind you, how that's going to benefit you as opposed to hinder you. So I think it's very much looking at who you are, where you've come from and where you want to go, and then looking at how that might fit into this industry as opposed to how you need to change yourself to fit into the industry. So I think for people, for sixth form, people who are school leavers, people who are looking at maybe what higher educational options are open to them, we will be looking at the different roles in theatre, the different routes in, opening people's eyes maybe to careers they didn't know existed in theatre. We'll be looking at what sort of lifestyle that would allow them, sort of incomes, job security, that kind of thing, and also the training requirements and the different training options open, and some of the funding requirements for that training and how you might meet those funding requirements. We'll cover certainly the route in if you want to be an actor and the various different training options available to actors, but we'll also look at how the industry is structured from administration positions, production positions and the creative roles in the industry, and look at how people get involved in all of those different areas of theatre. So some of the key topics that we'll be covering in the session, we'll be looking very much at the different theatre careers available, the different routes that people take through the industry. So very briefly, there's obviously performing roles and roles for actors, and within that there's various different choices you can make about the type of actor you might want to be, the type of work you might want to get as an actor, and that might affect how you train. It will affect the sort of course you take. Then there are obviously administrative roles within theatre, roles as producers and production roles in theatre, and those kind of roles can cover everything in production, from the sort of stage management duties and what a stage manager does. And again, there are a whole set of roles there, through to production management and of course producers and what a producer does. So we'll give a very brief overview to the structure of the industry and the roles inside the industry. Another topic we'll be covering is training and education options, and obviously we'll be looking at that from a range of perspectives, so that if you did realise that you wanted to be a producer, how might you go about being a producer, and likewise actor or stage manager, and just looking at the range of educational options that are available to you. Now that it's costing us more money, we're having to really make a very considered judgment on what we want to do next when we leave schools and we leave colleges. And so here we'll really be going into the kinds of routes that are available, both academic routes, vocational routes, the difference between university and drama school, as well as some part-time routes into the industry, some unusual routes in, looking at a couple of case studies possibly, and also looking at some of the apprenticeships that are available to people, and how, when you've completed whatever training you're going to be doing, how that would then start to the extra steps you now need to take to move into the roles that you see yourself taking in the industry. One of the things that I think scares people about training for theatre, and has traditionally always been an issue, is how to fund training for theatre. And so it's breaking down really the reality of what the cost will be, the reality of when you'll need to find that money and how you'll need to find that money, and just then looking at the different options available, from student loans to grants, to fundraising initiatives that students have found in the past, and then of course looking at other options should you feel that full-time education is going to be too costly. And one of the great things about theatre is that it doesn't require a formal degree, it doesn't require you to have any qualifications at all, but it doesn't mean that it's an easy industry to get into. So looking at how you can find a route in, even if you don't have a degree, or A-levels or BTEC or anything like that behind you, not just in London but across the regions as well. I think the people who often succeed in the theatre are the people who really understand very clearly who they are and what they can bring to the theatre, and how their skills naturally fit with the skills needed in theatre. So you often find that an actor suddenly becomes a writer or a director or a producer, and someone who might have been struggling before has suddenly found a niche that means that they're hugely successful in their newfound role. Likewise, somebody who was doing lots of writing may find a role that is as a literary manager or a dramaturg, that actually their skills, just by slightly tweaking them and changing them, they find a career path that's much more suitable and fulfilling to them. And so part of this is just to open the idea of what it is that you bring to the industry, what it is that you have, what it is that you're passionate about, and the skills that you have, sometimes not obviously connected to the industry, but how the way you think and how the way you work might impact on the work that's available to you, and so that you can very early on start to build a sense of what it is that you could do and what it is you could bring. Being a part of the theatre industry is one of the most rewarding and fulfilling industries that you can be a part of, but there's also an awful lot of myths about working in the theatre and what that involves. At the heart of the theatre is one of the biggest, most thriving economies in the country. It's one of our success stories, what Britain does really well. And this session will really be about you understanding how you can be part of such a big, vibrant industry, and opening some doors, some ideas about how you what makes you unique and how you can fit into this industry, what routes there are into it and what roles are available to people.